I know I've talked a ton about Twitter recently since Elon Musk took over, but I just can't help it. It is so entertaining to see all of this silliness unfold. It's become my go-to soap opera. I'm more captivated by this than I was Better Call Saul. I'm waking up each day to new Twitter drama, a new catastrophe, and it is putting a massive smile on my face. Elon's been celebrating the active user records they've been hitting recently, and I don't doubt that they're breaking records with active users right now. I imagine there's tons of people just like me signing on every day just to laugh at the state of the site and laugh at all of the impersonation accounts that are all verified now and costing real companies billions of dollars. I'm going to talk about that in a second. It is so wild. And yeah, he's absolutely right about one thing. Comedy is legal again on Twitter. He has unleashed it. The floodgates are open and the goofs are coming in hot. So let's just get right into it. I'm sure a lot of you have seen by now, but maybe some of you haven't, and I can't wait to open your third eye here to true enlightenment. This is trolling to perfection. So Elon Musk announced for $8 a month you can get a verified checkmark. Doesn't matter who you are, it's open to the public, you just have to pay for it. This has also led to some confusion, especially surrounding my personal Twitter account because I'm still verified on there, so a lot of people have been accusing me of being a hypocrite saying, interesting, you still have a checkmark, clearly paying $8 a month even after you criticized it so heavily. Let me make it clear, I don't pay for Twitter. Like I said, I still believe it's a dumb, brain-dead dog idea to pay $8 a month for a check mark that's basically a Boy Scout badge for humiliation. I would never do that. It's more shameful to pay for Twitter than it would be to pay for a happy ending at a massage parlor. So no, I'm not paying for Twitter, I still just have the old check mark on there. Now to get back on track, Twitter Blue has fully launched and it is a colossal flop. It's having a box office performance like The Room here. It is just a failure, it seems. A lot of the numbers that are being reported are all over the place. They range between 100,000 on the low end up to 440,000 on the highest end that I've seen. But let's go ahead and round that up. Let's say there's 500,000 Twitter Blue subscribers, and all of them are paying $8 a month. That's $4 million a month coming into Twitter. That doesn't even cover 2 days of their operating cost because Elon Musk has claimed Twitter is losing $4 million a day. So through Twitter Blue, they're able to make back 1 day's worth of operating cost. That's it. And that's their monthly subscription. So after a month, they'll be able to pay for 1 day's worth of running Twitter. What a tough pill to swallow, I'm sure. Let that sink in, am I right? Now, of course, this isn't their only source of revenue. They do still have some advertisers, even though a ton of them pulled out, and Elon really seemed to put most of his eggs in this Twitter Blue basket, truly believing that most people would want it. Like, everyone's going to ask for this for Christmas, everyone's going to sign up for the checkmark because that's what's most important to everyone on Twitter, so we'll charge for it. Only it turns out the interest really wasn't as big as he and many others thought that it was. So yeah, that $44 billion that he used to purchase Twitter may have been better spent wiping his own ass with it. He also took out a loan. I believe the loan was $13 billion, according to Bloomberg. And the loan is also going to be something that Elon Musk is probably going to have to make payments on, and those are going to be extremely expensive as well. So at current rate with Twitter Blue, he better pray that Twitter's around for the next 2,000 years, because by then he might finally be able to start making a dent in how much money he owes and how much he has lost on Twitter so far. Yeah, while the number of users may be skyrocketing, that's clearly not translating into money for the company. But god damn it, I am so glad Elon's doing what he's doing right now because it is so entertaining to watch. Twitter Blue has been mainly being used as a tool for impersonation and trolling, and it's done remarkably well. I'm sure a lot of you have seen over the last couple days, one very successful viral post came from someone impersonating Eli Lilly. Some Giga Chad hero out there paid the $8, impersonated Eli Lilly, and said, "We're excited to announce insulin is free now," and then this tanked their stock 3% instantly. Just from someone impersonating them on Twitter with the checkmark. Now, of course, my heart isn't breaking for Eli Lilly here. I think what they're doing with the price of insulin is very up and shady, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to laugh at this. Because, my god, this has to be the most expensive troll ever. Beautiful. I actually just wiped out billions of dollars there. Now, there are people that are saying this is just a theory and it might just be a coincidence that that viral tweet from the Eli Lilly impersonator coincided with the stock drop, because apparently there were other market factors that may have led to this drop in stock. I'll go ahead and share that with you now. Now, I'm not smart enough to really opine on whether or not it was the tweet or other market factors here, but I'd like to share all the arguments here from both sides for the evidence. Now, I will say, of course, it's very possible this tweet has no impact on it, and it truly was just a coincidence, but this also wouldn't be the first time a tweet has had massive market effects as well. It's far from unheard of. In fact, Elon Musk himself has even done this a couple of times, where some of his tweets have real implications on the Tesla stock. The most infamous being, "Am considering taking Tesla private at 420. Funding secured." This, of course, had a huge effect on the market for the time and even resulted in Musk having to pay a $20 million fraud settlement, as well as Tesla paying a $20 million penalty. So these kind of things can result from tweets. It wouldn't be the first time. And Eli Lilly wasn't the only victim. Lockheed Martin also found itself in a tough situation when someone impersonated them on Twitter and made this post. "We will begin halting all weapons sales to Saudi Arabia, Israel, and the United States until further investigation into their record of human rights abuses. #WeAreLM. And after this went viral, the Lockheed Martin stock dropped 5%. Now, this of course could be chalked up to yet another coincidence, and a lot of people do believe that's the case, because the entire defense industry was down on this day. So yes, it is very possible that, again, this was just a big coincidence. I do think it'd be a little odd that the same thing happened in two different industries under similar circumstances, and it just happens to be coincidental, but of course, it's also a hard sell to claim that those tweets actually had that huge market effect. There's really no telling, but regardless, it's super entertaining. It seems, most of the people that are buying Twitter Blue are doing it just for this, because even if they're not trolling massive companies to cost them billions of dollars, they're making impersonation accounts for people in positions of power and saying really goofy like, "Anyone else up right now playing with their Johnson? I've got lotion on my right now." And it's all verified accounts from people like Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders. Like, it makes me laugh every time. It actually does. That little check mark and then taking their profile and just mimicking it and then saying like that is somehow just a recipe for good laughs from me, as well as many others, which is probably why the usage is at an all-time high. It's just been so entertaining. But unfortunately, Elon Musk must have felt the pressure, because both Eli Lilly and Lockheed Martin have shown that they're really not happy about what's happening on Twitter. Nintendo was also a victim of someone impersonating Nintendo of America and tweeting out a picture of Mario giving everyone the finger. But Elon Musk, in response to all of this, has shut down Twitter Blue for the time being to try and put a halt to all the impersonation. You have to wonder how Elon couldn't see this coming, or how anyone could have possibly convinced themselves this wouldn't happen. If you go back to the videos I made talking about this system and how it would likely be abused, there were so many people huffing copium that saying things like, "No, this wouldn't happen. You think you're as smart as Elon? He's clearly thought of this. There must be fail-safes in place to prevent this from happening." And then bang. The exact thing that everyone knew would happen happened, and some people are acting shocked about it. This was the most predictable outcome. This is the most predictable situation imaginable that would arise from this system, this Twitter Blue $8 a month system. Everyone who even thought for a single second about this knew this would happen. It doesn't take a galaxy brain intellect to figure this out, yet somehow Elon Musk, as well as I guess many others, for some reason didn't think this would happen. Which is wild. That's just absolutely wild. But it has been so entertaining to watch. I'm really glad he went through with it. So hats off to him for actually pulling the trigger on this dog idea. Because, man, it has been so fun. So I just wanted to share all of this with you. I'm excited to see where it goes next. And, yeah, that's really about it. See ya. I really didn't think Twitter would ever have a stupider idea than super follows, that paid monthly subscription to your favorite Twitter account. I thought that was going to be like the magnum opus of incompetence for the site. But Elon Musk took over now, and his neurons are working overtime. He's rubbing the Dogecoins in his brain together and creating some absolute insanity when it comes to bad ideas for monetization. So let's talk about his new $8 a month subscription for check marks on Twitter. Elon Musk has only been the head of it for like less than a week and is already proving me wrong. I said he wouldn't make like any change whatsoever. It'd say exactly the same. But dude is cleaning house at the company and implementing some absolute brain dead ideas. So I'm sure you guys all saw he's looking to charge like $20 a month for verification. After Stephen King's like, nah, I'm out. He started haggling with Stephen King in this public embarrassment, like a humiliation fetish from Elon Musk. He's like, oh bro, but what about $8 a month? So now he's rolling with $8 a month. Here, actually, I'll just pull up the tweet so you can read it. He like starts groveling at Stephen King's feet. Like, no, 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 what do you mean you're leaving? Yeah, we need to pay the bills somehow. Twitter cannot rely entirely on advertisers. How about $8? I don't know how he wasn't embarrassed posting that publicly. That's so shameless. But yeah, so that's the idea, charging $8 to keep the checkmark, as well as opening it up to anyone who can pay $8 a month and have a checkmark. Oh, here it is. Lords and peasant system, power to the people for $8 a month. So I think most people can sniff out some problems right away with the idea, and Elon Musk himself. So Rubius point this out. What happens when a random user pays $8, changes his display name to Elon Musk using your same profile pic, starts tweeting like you, verified checks exist so people know they follow the real person. He doesn't even address that, he just said it already happens, which he's just blatantly wrong about. There's currently, at least not from the last time I checked, which was 2 hours ago, there is no verified Elon Musk scamming accounts, but there are people like impersonating him without the checkmark. Whereas this can have verified scammers. But regardless, not even the biggest takeaway here. I think anyone who pays $8 for a checkmark is an absolute certified loser. It should only be used by like companies, maybe. I could see that like companies or businesses wanting it. Individuals, I think that's just trash. Like, you are basically just begging to be bullied. Like, that's like an elevated chat, but on Twitter. That's just a -8 in every reply. I would not take a checkmark from anyone seriously anymore. It would be too embarrassing. But yeah, his whole thing is like, it's going to... Actually, here, let me just pull it up instead of put words in his mouth. Here. You get priority in replies, mentions, and searches, which is essential to defeat spam and scams. Which I cannot believe he's that out of touch. This will only increase that because anyone can do it now. So now you can have verified scams, which are going to take priority in the replies and in the searches. I'm not paying $8 a month for the checkmark, I'll tell you right now. That is... no shot. That is so dumb. It is more productive to burn your $8 a month. You are getting no value from it. So when that happens, there'll be like 1,000 moist criticals everywhere, and they will all be in the priority scamming people. So it's only going to increase that problem. And you don't even get an ad-free experience, you just get half as many ads. So imagine paying $8 a month for a stupid little Boy Scout badge and then still getting ads. How silly. This is like actual pay pig behavior where you just pay someone to get nothing in return except insults. $8 for a check mark. I see why he's doing it, because now he just paid $44 billion for this pilot and there is no way it's making money, not even close, so he's just scrapping together every idea to try and squeeze a little money into it. And he also has a problem right now where advertisers are pulling out. So not only is he losing all of his like members in the company, the employees that he's firing en masse, but the advertisers themselves are starting to pull out because they have no faith in Elon actually steering the ship. So he can't rely on them anymore, which he publicly admits to Stephen King. So he's just trying everything to make something back on this absolute massive post that was so costly. Man made a $44 billion joke and is starting to regret it like a Darman video. His super follows on crack. Oh, that is such a... I keep forgetting about super chats. Like, super chats is absolutely inviting wedgies into your life. If you are... sorry, super follows. Super follows invites, like, actual swirlies in the bathroom from the football team. If anyone sees that you are a super follower of someone on Twitch, you will never hear the end of it. You are going to be absolutely bullied on Twitter forever. So people don't do it. You never see super followers. Because you're paying for nothing. And that is exactly what the checkmark's about to be with the $8 a month. It's so beautiful. I want to quickly explain super follows a bit more, since I'm aware that most of you probably don't even know what it is. It's a system Twitter rolled out where you can do a monthly paid subscription to your favorite Twitter accounts, and you get like a little badge that highlights you that you're a super follower publicly, so you can stand out in conversation, and you get bonus tweets. You probably haven't seen any super followers because no one uses it because it's downright embarrassing. This is just like going out in public and asking to be spit on. If someone sees you're a super follower on Twitter, good luck having anything you're talking about be taken seriously. And this is what I feel the checkmark will become with this new system if it goes into place. Because you're paying for nothing, and it publicly shows that you are wasting your money. So of course you're just going to be insulted for it. And I think that's going to be a deterrent for people buying it. Like, I just don't see why anyone would when you don't get anything in return for it except for a public badge that lets people know you're wasting your money. Oh, to all complainers, please continue complaining, but it'll cost $8. Epic. That's a fat own right there, noobs, from the mastermind of memes. Let that sink in. I mean, I wish he would have just shut it down. Maybe this is like a long-term play to like slowly wean people off of it, which would be pretty big brain. But it would have been better if he just like, yeah, I regret it, I'm shutting it down. That would have been fantastic. But now he's just gonna go out sad here with this one. Just a way to make money. Yeah, it's a desperate way of making money. One that I don't see going super well. The only people that are gonna use it are people that do it to troll or scam. Why the f is a normal person gonna care about having a check mark on their name? Yeah, I'm Biff Cheeseburger from North Baptist University. I want to be verified on Twitter. I'll pay $8 a month for it. I saw, like, even the Elon meat writers that pretty much support everything are kind of scratching their heads here. Because for $8 a month, you're getting nothing. You get priority in replies, yeehaw, so you can say L plus ratio quicker than most people and have it at the top. Like, you don't get anything out of that subscription. They keep comparing it to things like Netflix or Hulu subs, but think of all the content you get from anything else with a subscription. RuneScape, you get an entire thousands hours worth of gameplay. World of Warcraft, and then any streaming service ever. You get tons of content. On Twitter, you get a check mark, you get a badge. It's worthless. Like, if it was a one-time payment, I could see some people doing it, but a subscription, a monthly subscription to have that, nobody's doing that, except for businesses, maybe. No shot. And you don't even get an ad-free experience, so it's even worse than, like, anything else, like, alternative. O.J. Simpson finally getting his checkmark. True! O.J. Simpson made that post to Elon. Now that Elon's got Twitter under his control, maybe now I can get verified. And he can for only $8. So we finally got the real OJ with that checkmark. You can be like O.J. Simpson on Twitter. Let's go. Huge. So I can make fake government accounts for only $8. We were talking about this on the podcast, and someone in the chat made like a really fun suggestion of just impersonating foreign policy like higher ups, because you can do this infinitely, right? Even if you have to verify via photo ID and you get banned for impersonation, you can just do it again. You can just keep doing this over and over again and keep changing your handle to like anyone with a position of power and just going hog wild. He said the $8 will help fund content creators. Is there any info on this? Oh yeah, he did say that. No, that just seems like buzzwords to get people more on his side because people love that kind of sentiment. I don't know how that's going to fund content creators on Twitter. Like, what the f is a Twitter content creator? Like, just anyone with a big following on Twitter? I think the payable verification at this point is meant to reduce bots and not meant to signify that an account belongs to a public figure. Yeah, but it's not going to stop anything with bots or scams or anything. Because it's open to anyone. You can just pay $8 a month. It's just going to be a little costly to promote your scams, but you're going to get more out of it because it's going to fool more people because of the checkmark. And since it floats to the top of the replies now, and since it's going to be the first things that come up when you search things, scams are going to be much more prevalent. Assuming it goes as he has it stated so far. Maybe he has fail-safes in mind, but he certainly hasn't said that yet. How will this stop bots? Bots already exist now, and when you implement buying verification, you'll have the same bots plus easily verified bots. I don't know, like, he's not very in touch. It doesn't, like, I don't see how this stops spam or bots. It seems to me to only increase spam and scams, but I guess we'll see. Like, it doesn't seem to stop bots. The bots are still there, and now some of them can be verified. Twitter and bad decisions go together like spaghetti and meatballs. And it brings me no joy to keep talking about Twitter continuously getting worse with more and more embarrassing changes that keep hitting the platform. I would love to be talking about it getting better, right? Talking about like, oh man, Twitter's introducing an amazing change and people are, pumping their fists in celebration. But that is just not the utopia we live in. That Narnia doesn't exist. Right now, we're cursed with this brain rot Twitter that only somehow continues to fester and ooze. And what we're talking about today is its latest fumble with a new bad decision. It's actually been a whole handful of goofy changes, but I'm just going to focus on the silliest ones. So let's get into the cream of the crop, the biggest one people are talking about right now, the legacy checkmarks. For a few months now, Elon Musk was saying it needs a drastic overhaul. I've got my finger on the trigger and I'm about to just blow the brains out of these check marks. He was going to eradicate the old blue check marks, letting everyone know it's about to go extinct like the dinosaurs. Elon Musk was coming in, dropping the asteroid. The only check marks that would exist after April 1st of this year were going to be the Twitter blue check marks, the paid ones, $8 a month, flushed right down the... Those would be the only blue check marks left. Well, it looks like we all survived Armageddon because it's April 2nd and there's only been one minor tweak to the blue checkmark system. This is kind of like when the Mayan calendar stopped at 2012, but then we hit 2012 and kept going, so people were curious about like, oh wow, how did we, what happened to the end of the world? That's what's got everyone scratching their head right now because the blue checkmark system is exactly the same, except now the wording on them is changed. So everyone that had a legacy checkmark before the purge still has it. There was no purge. It was a false flag operation, I guess. All that changed is how they explain it. So now, if you look at any check mark, they all say the same thing, which is this account is verified because it's subscribed to Twitter Blue or is a legacy verified account. It's such a minor tweak and not at all what it was hyped up to be. This really feels like it was running defense for the feelings of people who paid $8 for Twitter Blue and kept getting bullied because it proudly showcased that they are verified because they paid for it. So they were being relentlessly bullied all over Twitter for anyone that bought the service. Now, this is the water, so you'll never know if that checkmark is from someone that paid for it or if they were a important person with a legacy verification checkmark. It really feels like it was just to protect the feelings of those pay piggies that were dumping the $8. So that was pretty lame and disappointing, but if you are a Twitter Blue subscriber, now's the time to rejoice. You'll be able to sleep easier at night knowing that people won't be able to laugh and spit on you as easily as before since they won't know if you're dumping the $8 a month for that checkmark. But there have been a couple other changes that I think are worth mentioning here since we're talking about it, and one of them is about the other two badges. So there's also a gray badge in addition to the blue one. This is a completely different badge, and it's reserved for government officials or politically powerful people. It goes to them. That's not something you can buy. That is something that you have bestowed upon you, like Elon Musk personally knighting you with the gray badge on the platform for the politically powerful people. And there's really nothing I think that's wrong with that. I actually think that's probably a pretty good idea, so that way people don't ever really get confused. But one thing that I don't really like about it is that it's gray, and sometimes when I'm just scrolling, since I'm on dark mode, I don't even notice if there's a check mark there, so sometimes I just think that it's a troll account or something. They should make it more obvious. They should have made that one glisten. Like, have it be red with flames coming off of it, maybe like sound effects, fireworks blasting off like you just hit 99 in RuneScape. Like, that one they should have went hog wild on. But regardless, there's another badge as well, and this one's for corporations. That's the gold badge, the little Mario coin. So the gold badge is interesting. The gold badge is for brands and companies, nonprofits, any of that, and it costs $1,000 per month in addition to an extra $50 per month for each affiliate sub-account, i.e. employees, brands, or divisions. But there is an exemption here. The top 10,000 most followed brands, companies, and organizations that have already been verified will be exempt from the $1,000 monthly fee. So if you're like a startup business and you want the gold badge to help solidify to customers that this is the official brand account, well then I hope you've got your pocketbook at the ready because you're going to need to pony up at least $1,000 per month for that. That is not cheap whatsoever. And I actually would be super insulted if I was a startup business that would find value in that gold badge, because the top 10,000 most followed corporate accounts, as well as just its 500 largest advertisers, are being grandfathered into it for free. These are massive corporations that could easily afford the $1,000 per month charge without feeling. Meanwhile, you got mom and pop Wiggleberry who just launched their artisan candle business that really wanted the gold checkmark to try and extend their reach online, and they're gonna have to fork out a ton for it. So that would be pretty insulting as a small business owner who might want the gold checkmark. I don't think it's necessary whatsoever. I don't think the gold checkmark's going to necessarily be hitting home runs for your bottom line and getting you more customers. But I have heard from a few small businesses and nonprofits that aren't going to be, with the waived fee here, that were very upset about it. And I do understand why they would be, because again, that is expensive for smaller businesses. Meanwhile, the businesses that are already huge that could easily afford it don't have to. They don't have to eat the cost at all. Instead, it's coming from smaller businesses, which is weird. That seems kind of backwards to me, but whatever. I thought that was at least worth mentioning, because $1,000 per month for a badge on Twitter is in and of itself a wonderful joke. Now, the last change that I'd like to discuss is one that kind of branches off of a bigger topic. What is the value of even being verified on Twitter? Well, I think the answer is nothing. I think there is absolutely no value in being verified on Twitter. One of the things Elon Musk has been hyping up for a while is monetization options, but as of right now, they're non-existent. There's really no such thing as like Twitter monetization. You're not going to make a living off of just tweets with a verified account. At least not yet. Though I do wonder if he is like genuinely exploring that to see if there is a way to have content on Twitter generate ad revenue for its Twitter Blue subscribers to incentivize them to keep posting. I think that's the plan. It's just not fully realized yet. So as of right now, it is completely worthless to have the check mark. It doesn't give you any kind of big priority in comments, at least not that I've seen. It doesn't offer you any useful tools outside of the ability to review a tweet before sending it or make like an edit to it, which who really gives a f? It's Twitter. You could just delete the tweet if you want to. It's very simple and very quick already. It just seems like a complete waste of money. But with a recent announcement from Musk, it seems like he's really trying to make Twitter Blue a requirement to even use the platform effectively. So the change is that only verified users will show up in the recommended feed, and also that only verified accounts will even appear in the Twitter's For You feed, making the claim that this is the only realistic way to address advanced AI bot swarms taking over. It goes into effect on April 15th, and also voting in polls will require verification for the same reason. I don't really care too much about the poll voting. That doesn't matter at all to me. Twitter polls are completely useless. But the shutting out non-verified accounts from For You recommendations, that's a load of horseradish right there, especially with the reason given to stop AI bot swarms. This feels like a totally different tone and attitude here, as opposed to the old Elon, the bold Elon, who went to war with bots right away when he took over the platform, stating that he was going to make sure bots and all of those troll fake accounts weren't going to be an issue anymore, and he had so many plans to get rid of it. Now he's saying it's a losing battle without just taking off unverified accounts from the For You recommendation page. What the happened? Yeah, they won, I guess? Jesus Christ. That's a weird way of combating that. There's plenty of other ways of combating bots that don't involve just slapping the people that aren't paying $8 a month. I don't think I need to explain why this is a terrible decision. Everyone was dunking on him for this one. Even the biggest of supporters for Musk were pretty put off by this because it just does seem weak, no matter how you spin it, saying it's a losing battle unless he turns off a pretty crucial component to the service, which is allowing unverified accounts, any account, to show up on the For You recommendations based on algorithms. And like, that has been a core part of Twitter for a while now. So taking that away, stating like he's going to lose to bots if he doesn't, is very weird and not a great look. And since we're on the topic of For You, I want to quickly just ask, what the f is going on with For You on Twitter? I talked about this on stream, and everyone's having the exact same experience over the last couple months, where every time you go on, there's just random and gore videos, like out the wazoo. Every time I scroll through Twitter for more than like 3 or 4 seconds, I'll inevitably scroll past someone just getting shot somewhere in a video of it, or like a fight that broke out that led to someone getting... And it's not even based on my previous viewing. Like, I don't go out of my way to watch like best gore on Twitter or anything. Like, it's out of nowhere, and everyone seems to be having a similar experience. And if it's not in gore videos, it's for some reason other horrific... That's not even viral. Like, they're not even viral clips. I don't understand why it's doing that. I don't know if it's by design or if there's just something that's got a little funky in there, but it's certainly odd. And I just wanted to at least mention that briefly. But overall, these are not amazing changes so far for Twitter. Maybe they'll get it together and start pumping out some great ones, but man, it has been a load of L's for that platform. Elon Musk bought it not too long ago for $44 billion, and it is currently valued at roughly like $20 billion. So not exactly seeing the best of returns at the moment, and doesn't really seem to have the best of ideas. But who knows, maybe it'll start to really pick itself up. That's about it. So yeah. No need for dilly-dally, you already know what we're here to talk about. Twitter is the gift that just keeps on giving, like a birthday party clown that never runs out of ribbon to pull out of his thumb, and it makes me continue to burp and clap while smiling. It's a beautiful disaster, a blunder that never ends. It reminds me of like that cheese rolling competition that happens every year in the UK, where they throw a cheese wheel down like a really steep hill, and people just throw themselves down the hill, hurting themselves the whole way, tumbling, chasing after that cheese wheel. That's Twitter, constantly hurting itself in pursuit of that cheese. And in this case, it's the big cheese, the biggest cheese, money. Twitter is a platform that just burns money forever. And with Elon Musk at the helm now, it is desperate to start turning some kind of profit, or at least mitigate the losses as best as possible. Because obviously you don't want to own a business that just keeps taking spaghetti out of your bank account here forever and burning it. So they've been coming up with all kinds of different plans in order to try and make Twitter generate some level of money. And I've followed it pretty closely. I've made quite a few videos going over a lot of the silly stuff that's happened recently, but I haven't talked about it very much, even though they have made some decisions that I still think are comically bad. For example, you can now no longer even access any Twitter content unless you log in. So if you try and read a tweet, watch a Twitter video, or anything like that, and you're not logged in on desktop, you just get taken right to the sign-in page, which I think is a luxury afforded only to Twitter. That is the only platform that can get away with that. Imagine if you went on YouTube and it wouldn't allow you to watch any videos until you signed in. It's a platform. But Twitter is more addicting than heroin, and the people that are hooked on the product perpetually need their fix. It reminds me of Bane from Batman, how he constantly has those tubes that are filtering that juice, that venom into his body in order for him to live. That's a lot of people's relationship with Twitter. They need that poison in their life, so if they're forced to log in to even view anything on the platform, they'll do it without a second thought, really, with a smile on their face. But it's really the only platform that can get away with it. They're the only platform afforded that luxury. Other platforms like YouTube, again, for example, would absolutely see a drastic decrease in the amount of traffic that they get. Platforms like Reddit, too, I imagine if you have to log in to read anything on the platform, would also see a significant drop-off. But we're not here to talk about that change. Instead, I want to focus on the big change from today. And that is Elon Musk finally targeting data scrapers, which is a legitimate problem. I want to make this very clear up front. Data scraping is actually a problem. I didn't realize how big of a problem it was for so many companies until I watched Mudahar's video on it today. And data scraping is extremely expensive, and there is so many people exploiting a lot of like API and just in general a lot of shady going on with data scraping, that it is something that does require a solution. But this is Elon Musk's solution, and it's basically just the host as well as the parasite. So he's imposing a limitation on all accounts. So he says, to address extreme levels of data scraping and system manipulation, we've applied the following temporary limits. Verified accounts are limited to reading 6,000 posts a day, unverified accounts up to 600 posts per day, and new unverified accounts to 300 posts per day. Now, to be clear, this just means if you see this many posts. It's not about how many times you post. If you post something, it counts as 1 on your daily Twitter allowance. But if you scroll past a post, that still counts. So anything you scroll by, anything at all on Twitter counts as posts. So if you scroll through like 10 comments, that's 10 of your 300 posts for the day if you're a new unverified account. So people have been speedrunning to see how long it takes to reach this limit. And right now I believe this is the world record, 2 minutes and 33 seconds. But keep in mind, this any percent route here is about 2 minutes worth of time loss to setting up the account itself. So the speedrun goes from actual nothing, you don't have an account, to then going through the captchas, going through the codes, the emails, and all of that. And it's about 2 minutes to set up your account, and then the other 33 seconds is spent scrolling. And then this is what you get at the very end of your journey here. Rate limit exceeded. And most people get this within the first couple of minutes if it's a new unverified account. Now for older unverified accounts, it goes up to 600 per day. So double that. You basically get like about 10 minutes. At being very generous, you'd get about 10 minutes worth of scrolling for your unverified account before you get the rate limit exceeded. Now if you have like the Twitter Blue Boy Scout badge, 6,000 posts per day is probably what a normal person will be fine with. I don't think many people, aside from like actual hard addicts and power users of Twitter, are going to scroll past 6,000 posts per day. So that one probably isn't going to give any Twitter Blue enthusiasts a big problem. But the other two basically restrict everyone's access to the site to only a handful of minutes. He does say that this is just like a temporary thing, so a band-aid for the data scraping problem. Not sure exactly how long they're going to engage in this social experiment of self-destruction, but he is saying up front that it is temporary. So I guess this is just going to be a matter of waiting to see how long it continues for. Now, this is good and bad because I've been very vocal about how awful I think Twitter is as a platform for the mental health of everyone that uses it. So anything that gets people off the platform for an extended period of time, I think is a good thing. It gets them doing other things that aren't just brain rot on Twitter. But, of course, as a platform, it does provide real value to a lot of people as well. So for a lot of like businesses or artists or anything like that that rely on Twitter in order for marketing or in order to get their content out, it's very rough because so many people are going to hit their rate and not see what you're posting, or you won't see what they're posting if it's something that you actively check in on. And of course, Twitter is invaluable when it comes to like real world important events. Like a lot of times that news breaks on Twitter and people follow it there. But with the new Twitter allowance here for what you're allowed to see a day, you'd have a very hard time keeping up with a developing story, especially like, let's say it's in your area, so it'd be like really important to you. If you hit your Twitter allowance, you exceed your rate, you now get cut off from that information. So there is like an actual problem here with this system. It's a bit deeper than just go touch grass now, loser. This is a good thing. You're free. You can go touch grass. There is like an actual underlying issue with this whole format. So it is a big issue overall, and you can see why this would build a platform. If you can only use it for 10 minutes per day, it's not exactly going to be something that stands the test of time. It becomes less of a social media platform and more of like a mobile game daily quest that you do in a couple of minutes and then you're done for the day, which is exactly what Mudahar said in his video, and he's right on the nose with it. That's 100% correct. The number one thing that online companies are salivating over is how to keep you on their platform. It's the reason YouTube has such a robust recommended algorithm. It's constantly feeding you videos it thinks you want to watch, because if it's things you want to watch, you stay on the platform for a longer period of time. All of these companies are fighting for your time. They want to keep you there as long as possible. With this new Twitter policy, they're now driving you away from the platform as quickly as possible. So they're trying to target data scraping to solve that problem, but they're giving themselves a new problem, which is nobody's going to be able to use the service anymore. You are driving users off of the platform in a matter of minutes for the vast majority of your user base. They can't spend time on your platform even if they wanted to, because you are limiting the amount of time they can spend there drastically. Again, unverified accounts can't spend very long on the platform at all, a handful of minutes per day. So they're going to go to competing services. So it should be pretty obvious why Twitter would likely be buried if this becomes their permanent solution to the data scraping problem. It won't be a site that's able to exist anymore because it won't have a user base left, because they literally would not be able to use the platform because they'll hit their rates so quickly. It's what's been happening all day to so many accounts. And Elon Musk recognized that as well. He must have seen that so many people were instantly exceeding their rate and being cut off from the service, so he increased it to 8K, 800, and 400. That 400 makes pretty much no difference. That is negligible. That'll give you an extra 5 seconds worth of scrolling, so that's who gives it. The 800 gives you maybe another couple of minutes of scrolling, and then the 8,000 doesn't really matter because that wasn't the biggest issue with the change. Or maybe I'm dreadfully underestimating just how addicted people are to Twitter. Like maybe people are scrolling past more than 6,000 or 8,000 posts per day. But regardless, he increased the limit because so many people were hitting it so quickly. As I was recording this video, he increased it again to 10,000, 1,000, and then 500. The 500 is still, once again, not a big difference. You're still going to have to be rationing your time on the platform to make sure you don't see unnecessary tweets that take away from your allowance. So that is, again, still not going to be a big deal. It adds maybe an extra 3 seconds to the speedrun route. The 1,000 for unverified accounts that have existed for a while, that might be, let's just be super generous and say that it gives you like a full hour worth of scrolling on Twitter. If you do it at like a very leisurely pace and you painstakingly read everything you scroll by, like maybe that'll give you like an hour. But then once again, increasing the Twitter Blue to 10,000, this is just starting to highlight that I might just be really out of touch with how addicted people really are. Because again, I thought 6 or 8K was probably not really the big issue with this, because I didn't think most Twitter Blue subscribers would be that deep into doom scrolling forever. But I mean, he's increasing the Twitter Blue one again to 10K. So I mean, there must be an issue on that front as well. But regardless, you can see that the rate limiting of everyone on the platform is starting to cause some kind of internal panic. Clearly the goal is to combat the bad actors with data scraping, but it's coming at the cost of the entire platform for everybody else. It's like hunting a mosquito with a bazooka. You'll kill the mosquito, but everything else around it too. And in this case, it's your users that aren't paying for Twitter Blue, which is the vast, vast majority of your user base. It's obviously trying to push all of the unverified accounts to paying Twitter Blue subscribers. It's trying to convert them into handing over some money out of their wallet so that way they continue to spend all day on Twitter like they're used to. So all the goals are pretty obvious here. Obviously trying to stop losing as much money as they are to data scraping, and also trying to convert the people that aren't willing to drop some doubloons on Twitter into people that will pay money for a Twitter Blue subscription, so that way they can unlock the, bigger allowance for the site. They can spend more time on there. They get to unlock more time with Twitter. I don't know how successful that's going to be. Hopefully it won't be at all. I really don't see a world where people hit their rate and then just immediately like grab their credit card because they are scratching at their neck for more Twitter immediately. I hope that isn't the case. But regardless, should this system carry over for a long period of time, I really do see it being the legitimate end of the site. Again, most people aren't going to be paying for a service that has been free for as long as it's existed. So I just don't see a world where all of a sudden they're going to be okay with it now. But like Mudahar, I recognize that data scraping is a problem that requires a solution. And somehow Elon Musk found the worst solution to the problem. I don't have the answers though. So don't look at me to, cough up something genius here to stop data scraping without ruining the entire platform for all of the users that aren't paying for it. Because I don't know how to even begin combating it. But surely there's got to be something else that doesn't immediately nuke the whole platform. So I guess we'll just have to wait to see how everything continues developing here, but I did think this was actually pretty fascinating. Twitter is one of the few platforms that repeatedly makes decisions that I think are counterintuitive to long-term health of it, but it's still around. It hasn't yet, and maybe it'll endure this change as well. There's no telling, but just wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's it. So yeah. It's always so inspiring to see someone never give up in the face of adversity, to push forward and achieve great things, like Rocky or Will Smith in I, Robot, when he was telling people like, hey, these robots are a little fishy, and they said, hey pal, you just blowing from stupid town? And then turns out he was right and he still protected us anyway. Point is, this is the backbone to so many of the best stories ever told in books, movies, TV shows, and anime. It's like one of the 10 commandments of anime for every protagonist, just that never quitting attitude. But in the real world, when companies in particular adopt this never give up mentality, it's pretty embarrassing and pathetic. In particular when it comes to Meta, or as you know them, Facebook, because nobody really knows this clown company as anything other than Facebook. Meta's been on a bit of a cold streak recently, with the most recent embarrassing blunder being the Metaverse. More like Meta reimburse everyone who bought into that scam. Being sold as like the way of the future. Nowadays, it's just a barren, empty wasteland of broken dreams and broken promises. The goofballs just made a virtual reality experience more primitive than Roblox and Second Life. It's just shameful. But they didn't give up. They didn't quit. They said, you know what? That was so good, we're going to do it a second time. What about second breakfast? So they're trying another venture here, and it's actually opening to pretty big success. And it's what we're talking about today. Threads, a Twitter competitor. Twitter's had its own series of missteps, quite a few blunders. They've given up Scholar's Mate a few times here, and it looks like Meta's trying to strike while the iron's hot, so they released their own Twitter competitor called Threads. When looking it up, I saw this headline, Meta's Twitter competitor for friendly conversation launches early, And this feels like the worst article ever written to promote something. Calling it a place for friendly conversation makes it sound like Weenie Hut Jr., where you're not allowed to go in there unless you're wearing elbow and knee pads. Not that I like Twitter. I think, and I've been very vocal about this, I think Twitter sucks. I don't think the world was ready for a platform like that, and it is just the absolute worst thing for a human being's mental health. And now for the first time, we're being cursed with a platform that threatens Twitter's stranglehold on brain rot. This is like that scene out of Godzilla where he says, "Let them fight." We now have two kaijus going to war over poisoning your mind, basically. So you have Twitter, which is no stranger to horrible decisions, and now you have Meta with Threads, which is no stranger to horrible decisions. Obviously, Meta's mainly going to be using this for more data harvesting, I imagine, since that's kind of their bread and butter behind their business models. But this is a big deal because Twitter now has actual competition in the space. And it doesn't seem like they like this ball game very much because apparently Twitter is threatening to sue Meta for Threads right now, saying that it stole their trade secrets. I don't know what Krabby Patty secret formula they think they cooked up there, but Twitter itself was already derivative of some of the old message boards from way back in the day. It just kind of became streamlined on Twitter, and everything just got so concentrated on the internet as a whole that everyone flocked to Twitter for the experience. I don't know exactly if they have a strong case against Meta here for Threads, so I guess we'll just have to see how that whole soap opera plays out. But honestly, the biggest thing about this announcement that I see nobody talking about for some reason is the fact that Meta maliciously calculated today as their launch day because they knew that I was dropping our Plague Seeker animation. They wanted to take the wind out of our sails knowing that Plague Seeker was going to hog all of the internet's attention for today, so they had to drop Threads in order to take the wind out of our sails, which is foul play from Meta, but I'd expect nothing less from Zuckerbot. So don't let them win. Go watch the Plague Seeker animation. We worked very hard on that. But anyway, I don't want to get too lost in the sauce here at the buffet, so before the steam keeps pouring out of my ears, let's focus on Threads. I have always been extremely vocal about how important competition is, and more now than ever since everything is getting so concentrated on the internet where pretty much all discussions are happening on either Twitter or Reddit and like nowhere else these days. I always think competition is a great thing. But that being said, Twitter sucked through a crazy straw, and I am not thrilled about making another Twitter account on something called Threads. I don't need a Twitter 1.5. I already don't like current Twitter, so why would I come around for the sequel here? I don't need too fast to Twitter, so I'm not going to make a Threads account, but I'm glad that it exists, and I hope it does become successful, so that way Twitter doesn't have a stranglehold on brain rot anymore. They can now share the neural load, and maybe, now we're just spitballing utopias. Maybe Threads actually does become a great social media platform somehow, and Twitter can just kind of be like this quarantine zone for, wild, wacky nonsense. It could just be like the loony bin, right? Then I'd make the switch to Threads. But for now, I don't need another Twitter, so I'm not going to be signing up for it. I'm not exactly, scratching at my neck for more of that experience. But like I said, competition is great, and I do hope Threads can at least threaten Twitter enough so that way both can improve. So that way you're not stuck with constant dog changes that make the user experience worse. The most important thing to remember about competition, that it is always the best thing for consumers. You want competition. This isn't me trying to hypnotize you. I'm telling you a fact. You want competition. You don't want one entity to have all of the power when it comes to a market share like this. So it's good. But I don't like Twitter, so I'm not making a Threads account for more Twitter. But I'm out here rooting for it, even though it is one of Meta's. But at least now you get the choice. Do you want to stay on Twitter, or do you want to go to Mark Zuckerberg's booby here and suckle on that for the Twitter experience? You get choices now. And since I don't have a Threads account, I've just been reading people's personal accounts of the site. Apparently they're not allowing pornographic material, and they're also censoring people, individuals. I don't know how true these claims are right now because I'm getting conflicting information from different sources. And if both of these claims are true, the censorship is a big L, but not having it constantly feeding you pornographic material, I actually think is a good thing. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I was talking about this on stream last night. I never stopped to think about just how weird it was that Twitter's a platform that you have to be 13 or older to sign up for, and it just has porn plastered all over the place. And it's super common, especially in replies. And this is a platform that is, again, 13, which is below the legal age for porn consumption, which is 18. And it just wasn't even something I even thought about until a couple people on Twitter started mentioning it, and I was like, huh, that's an interesting point. And the majority of the time, it's not age gated at all. You just immediately get fed the content with no like safeguard in place or anything. You'll read a goofy tweet that you're giggling about, such as the timeless classic, dude walked into the pee store and said, "Is this the poop store?" It's like, brother, look around. And you're, busting a gut laughing at it, having an old belly laugh, and then you scroll into the reply section to see who else is laughing with you, and then bang, just a full picture of a gaping, leaking butthole and an OnlyFans link. And it's like, what the... So yeah, I'm not exactly going to be crying about the lack of porn on Threads if that is the decision they decide to make. But I did look up some complaints that a couple of articles have noted, so I'm just going to go through those real quick, because again, I'm not making an account on Threads right now, so I don't know firsthand what the experience is like. According to this article, you can't set Threads to view only posts from accounts you follow, which, again, this just feels like they rushed it out and just didn't bother putting this in yet, but will be coming shortly if I had to guess, because this is a pretty obvious one that they'd need to have set up. There's also no web interface, but you can read the threads on the website, but you can't post them or interact with them in any way. And apparently you can't delete your Threads profile without deleting your Instagram, which seems like a pretty big oversight, but it seems like something a lot of people will have an issue with down the line. According to the quote here, you can deactivate it, but you can't delete it without, also annihilating your Instagram account. Also, there's no search functionality right now in Threads. It only lets you find user accounts, so they do say that they'll be adding more features to help discovery, obviously. That's very clear. This is just a rushed job getting it out, so it doesn't have all the features at the moment. And then the other thing is that it's not currently available in the EU, which I imagine it will be shortly. But yeah, anyway, like I said, even if I'm not making a Threads account right now, I am happy that there is competition in the space, and hopefully it can be a legitimate competitor to Twitter. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. I couldn't have been more wrong. When Elon Musk took over Twitter, I was convinced there really wasn't a lot he could do to make it worse. And he has absolutely slapped me around here and spit in my face, letting me know that no, it always could get worse. I already made a video talking about his $8 a month for the check mark on Twitter, his verification, his pay-to-win opinion scheme where you can pay $8 a month to have your check mark and you get priority in the search and replies and all that. I already talked about that at length. The main takeaway there is I just find that to be really embarrassing. To publicly display that you pay for a service like Twitter is more shameful than letting people know that you pay for furry porn. So I just thought that would be a little Boy Scout badge people would always point and laugh at you for, and that was the worst thing about it. I just thought it was silly, especially because you don't even get an ad-free experience. You're paying $8 a month and he says you only get half as many ads, which is just a fat L. Imagine paying a monthly subscription and still getting ads. Yucky. But today, Elon Musk actually made a much more concerning announcement regarding this new program, where if you don't pay $8 a month for Twitter, if you try and use Twitter for free, as it's always been, you're basically shadow banned. At least that's how it sounds coming from his mouth. Your replies aren't really going to be seen. He says verbatim, you'll have to scroll far to see unverified users, which sounds like going forward, you'll need to cough up $8 a month in order to have a voice. To anyone with their brain even remotely functioning properly, you'll recognize this is the exact opposite of free speech, which he claims to champion for the platform. But I'm just going to publicly beg all Elon Musk meat riders to hop off his cock for just a few seconds here, put away your little sausage fingers before writing your comment about how upset you are that I insulted your savior, and just listen. Just join me on a magic school bus ride through this absolutely terrible idea and why this is such a outrageous program.
So how do you prevent the use of the N-word? We should be able to figure out with software how to moderate this and prevent that from happening. Is that true or not?
What I'm trying to achieve with this sort of enabling everyone to be payment verified with Twitter Blue is to try to get as many people payment verified as possible. It's only $8 a month, although for some people that were complaining about that, and these are people who pay more than that for their latte.
Elon was asked his strategy for combating hate speech, anti-Semitism, all that, and he brought up the payment subscription plan as a way of fighting against it. But I wanted to highlight this part here where he compares the price of a Starbucks latte to the subscription plan, because he loves this one. This is for some reason like his smoking gun. He's already posted this dank meme about it. So this is pretty much his anime signature finishing move. This is his Kamehameha. He really thinks this is just a checkmate, like, so you'll pay $8 for a Starbucks latte and it only lasts you 30 minutes, but you'll cry about $8 a month for Twitter and it lasts you 30 days. Curious. So you'll pay $8 for a drink and it only lasts you a couple of minutes, but you're gonna go ahead and whine and throw a temper tantrum for the same price for having a voice on a platform? Very interesting. I'm not a Starbucks enjoyer. I don't like Starbucks. I don't go there. Maybe the drinks are overpriced. Couldn't tell you. But that's neither here nor there. This is just like a gotcha moment that a child would think is clever. Like, Mom, Dad, why won't you buy me the new Call of Duty game? We spend more on groceries every week, and this is just a one-time purchase. And some of those groceries are so yucky, like broccoli, and we're paying more for that than Call of Duty, so just get me Call of Duty. Or back in the day when streaming services first started popping off, streaming service to nutbutt.com is only $6 a month. That's less than a single meal from Burger King. It's just so silly. You're comparing things that aren't even comparable. You're comparing food to a checkmark on Twitter. Like, it's so dumb. I also see a lot of people bastardizing what free speech means in order to fit their own personal image of Elon Musk as the Messiah. People are saying this is just how it's supposed to be. Twitter's like this big public bulletin board where anyone can go up and post something on it, but now you can pay to post something bigger on it on top of those. And I guess you're not, like, wrong, but why is that something that's good? In fact, this is the exact thing people were upset about before Elon's takeover, talking about silencing their voice where more powerful, more wealthy outlets were overshadowing their side of things and their opinions. And now it's just like a blatant system that celebrates that fact. And for some reason, because it's Elon, they're like, oh no, this is good now.
Part of it's revenue, part of it is payment authentication. And so if somebody, because there is a huge problem with spam and bots and trolls on Twitter, and organizations trying to manipulate public opinion. But if we can get enough verified users, and we're going to prioritize Twitter search, replies, mentions by verified users first.
This is not news. He made this very clear with his initial post saying like the benefits of the checkmark going forward, which is priority in these places. But what wasn't clear is not only are they getting priority, but the people that don't pay for it are getting fundamentally shadow banned. And he's going to go a little further on that in just a moment here, but I just wanted to point out that's not new. He made this clear that by paying for it, you are going to have the benefit of being, the superstar of every single post you ever make, I suppose. People will see that you pay $8 a month for Twitter, they'll give you a thumbs up and start throwing roses and blowing kisses your way for such a great financial decision. This isn't any new information, but I just want to again let everyone know that this is the value that they're paying for $8 a month on Twitter.
With blue checkmark, then you're prioritized, and hateful conduct pays. But if somebody risks losing even $8, the net effect will be over time that the verified users will pretty much always be at the top of comments and search, and you won't really see. You'll have to scroll far to see the unverified users, which will be the bots and trolls and whatnot.
So if something we don't want to see, it gets pushed way down.
Yeah, just the basic.
I promise you, if this was announced before Elon Musk's takeover, there would be nobody defending it. But the fact that Elon Musk has people that would throw themselves in front of a moving train if it meant saving Elon's reputation, they're doing the most incredible mental gymnastics to try and spin this as a positive thing, which it's not. This goes against free speech. Plain and simple. It absolutely does. If you don't pay, you don't have a voice. It's as simple as that. What he's describing here, where you just get pushed to the bottom and you really won't be seen, that's called shadow banning, and it's something everybody hates because it's just downright wrong. It's evil. And he's celebrating it like, oh, if you're not paying me, if you don't have that check mark, you're not going to be seen. That's not a flex. That's not something people will wiggle their finger about with a smile on their face. That is a Wumbo-sized box of ass right there. What a load of... It's so dumb. And another fundamental misunderstanding Elon Musk can't wrap his brain around is the fact that there are people that aren't bots, aren't trolls, that won't pay $8 a month. he says you won't see from these unverified users, that's the bots and the trolls. So in his mind, the only unverified users are bots and trolls. He can't comprehend that there's going to be real people with real voices that either can't afford $8 a month or just don't want to pay $8 a month. But he still just throws them down, just like, oh no, they're beneath us. Those are bots and trolls. Those unverified users, not real people.
And you won't really see, you'll have to scroll far to see the unverified users, which will be the bots and trolls and whatnot.
When this was initially announced, I thought this would just be like what verification used to mean, like just confirming there's a real person behind the keyboard. But it's not that anymore. It's confirming it's a real person behind the keyboard, and now it's the only way to have a voice. You can't be a free user anymore. At least not one that gets seen. So if you're posting Twitter to like talk to friends or engage in conversation with people that you like, and you're a free user, there's a good chance they won't see it because it'll get drowned out by the verified users. So fundamentally, you just get pushed out of your own circles by the priority of the verified accounts. When he announced this, he tried to portray it as like power to the people, but all it is power to the people that pay. So it's even more so benefiting and only benefiting the people that are wealthy enough to afford an $8 subscription to an absolute hemorrhoid like Twitter, and just completely slaps everyone who can't afford that or won't pay for it. I also don't necessarily seeing it being effective at stopping scams, spam, or hate speech, because he even mentions, people will pay for it and we'll just ban them. It's significantly cheaper now to pay $8 a month for a checkmark than it was for scammers and all of that prior. It was like 15 grand if you bought like a hacked verified account to promote your scam. It was far more expensive. So all of those scammers that were verified and scamming are now able to do it cheaper and probably more often because it's such a lower price point for them now. So I don't see it even stopping that. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. The way he describes it, though, really does seem like as a free user, you basically can't exist on Twitter, at least not in any meaningful way with your current circles or making posts. They just won't get seen because all the verified accounts are going to be above you everywhere, not just in the comments, but also in the search. So I don't know how people are even going to find unverified accounts anymore. So yeah, that's the latest update here from this awful idea from Elon. As I've mentioned numerous times now, I really wouldn't mind if Twitter shut down just in general. I think it would be a net positive to the whole world if that were the case. And this does seem like it's a push in that direction. I feel like there's not a ton of people that'll pay $8 a month to be verified, but I just don't know. I really don't. I'm not paying $8 a month for it, I can promise you that much, but I guess we'll have to see how popular the system becomes, but regardless, it is legitimately against free speech, no matter what happens. It is just a up idea. So, that's about it. See ya. I don't like talking about Twitter. I want to make that very clear. Even just saying the word Twitter burns my mouth leaving it. It feels awful, like I'm gargling sewage. But I just can't resist. The platform has become a factory of goofs. It's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but instead of producing candy, it produces the weirdest ideas ever. How can I resist pure, refined silliness like Twitter's decision-making process? Every time I swear I'm done talking about Twitter, they announce something that drags me back in. I'm like a drug addict that just keeps falling off the wagon again. They just keep putting the heroin in my veins. But honestly, laughing at Twitter has become a harder drug than anything currently out there. It's baffling. So, I'm sure all of you saw by now, Elon Musk has announced that Twitter is being rebranded as X. Just X. It's not short for anything, it's not part of anything, it's just the single letter, X. And I swear to God, Elon Musk has been more obsessed with the letter X than a pirate looking at a treasure map, because for at least 2 decades now, he's had that on his brain. Apparently, the original name he wanted for PayPal was X.com, and he has squatted on that, looking at it as some kind of nugget of genius for over 2 decades, and he has dusted it off, and right now, X.com currently redirects to Twitter, so I'm guessing that's going to be the new domain, since he recently did buy it back. Now, obviously, X.com looks like a porn site, but I guess that doesn't matter to him because X is just super cool in his eyes, which I think proves that he has to be one of the most uncool people on the planet. Being obsessed with the letter X is like something a 12-year-old on Xbox Live when choosing their gamer tag does. But I will say, in his other company, SpaceX, the X looks good because it's part of something. It's not just X on its own. It is part of something else. So it actually looks cool. I think SpaceX is a great name. And not only that, he even named his own baby X. Well, at least part of his name is X. It's X and then a random captcha here. I think it's supposed to be like a plane or something. I already forgot. But it's very clear Elon Musk loves the letter X, more so than Xander Cage in the Triple X movies. Like, this is wild. Not only because, obviously, it's very wacky. It's very, very wacky. Like, the dial went from silly all the way to wacky and then kept going, teetering all the way on bonkers territory with this decision. Because Twitter is one of the most recognizable brand names on the planet. One of the most recognizable brands ever, really, probably. And now Elon Musk has executed the bird, getting rid of the bird. It is transitioning over to X now. Here's what the logo looks like. I think it very much looks like something out of the Call of Duty game battle scene from way back in the day. It looks like one of those really quickly put together emblems. But this is the future here. The bird has been put down. Like Elmer Fudd, but instead of hunting rabbits, he was hunting birds here. It's just so weird, because this is going to be the worst SEO ever. X. Like, searching up X is just going to be awful trying to get to where you want to go. It's also just a horrible name in general that just sounds super lame and embarrassing. And it's even weirder considering how Twitter had spawned its own terminology for when you send out short sentences on the platform. They're tweets. They're retweets when you post them back on your page from someone else's page. When you post videos on Twitter, you reference them as Twitter videos. So what a lot of people have pointed out under this change, when you're referencing videos on X, you're going to call them X videos. And those of you who know, X videos is the biggest porn site in the world. So it's going to be real confusing real quick. And also, what's the new term going to be for when you tweet? You're sending an X. Or I'm going to re-X this. Or did you look at my X's. Which is just so embarrassing to say. That's even worse than saying tweet and Twitter and retweet. It's the worst terminology imaginable, if that is the direction they go. I'm still not fully convinced that this is anything more than just a gag from Elon Musk. I feel like this is just one of his classic posty things where he thinks it's like enjoyable for some length of time, and then he says, I'm done playing with this toy, and forgets about it. I don't know if he's actually going to do this. It would be a really dumb decision too, because again, you bought one of the most recognizable brands ever, and now you're just completely changing the brand name and brand identity. What's the point? All of the hard work of brand building was done for you. You had the easiest part of the brand building process. It was already a juggernaut of a brand. Why are you going back to try and start over with a new brand and a much worse name and a much worse identity that people are already laughing at? It just doesn't make sense. So I feel like he probably won't actually go through with this if it is an idea he's toying around with. I feel like this is just going to be a short period thing that he's kicking around and maybe goofing a bit with. But I guess we'll see. He's made some inexplicably odd decisions with Twitter so far, so I guess it is possible. Clearly, I don't think this is going to the platform formerly known as Twitter. I don't think everyone's just going to stop using it because the name is... But it's just such a weird thing to do. It doesn't make any sense. It's such a counterintuitive decision. This isn't going to help it become profitable, which I think is like the main goal right now since it bleeds so much money and is so directionless. This is only going to set it back in that direction because now you're going to have to like repitch all of the major brands on why they should work with X, which again is going to be easily confused for pornography often, which is going to make it very hard to work with other brands, I would think. Let me give you a great example because I have a first-hand account of this. Our esports team is named Moist. That's a bit of an odd word. That's a bit of a yucky word. But that's not even like something that can be conflated to porn easily. It's just one of those words that makes you feel a little icky. It's just one of those words that makes you raise an eyebrow. And just because of that, there have been many, many brands that don't really want to work with us just because of the name, and solely because of the name. Imagine now with X, a brand name that if you make one typo immediately takes you to porn, is extremely hard to find through just search engine optimization. It's just going to be a hard thing to get across. brands are probably going to be a little apprehensive about it, I would think. Assuming, of course, the logic carries over and remains consistent, I think X is a significantly harder to sell name than Moist. But that's just me, and of course that's not exactly the most unbiased judgment there. I've definitely got a horse in this race, but it does seem like X is a much worse name for brands to work with. Just going off of basic common sense here. Now, to me, it's still not entirely clear if he's truly committed to removing Twitter and the bird from everything on the platform and really just diving in deep, cannonballing into the X pool and rebranding fully to that entirely. But according to this article, and according to a Threads post from platformer managing editor Zoe Scheifer, according to her, she says that Twitter's business was already renamed X Corp, and that he said that their email last night would be the last time he emails them from that company address. It would now be fully X Corp. I didn't know that he had renamed Twitter business on the inside to X Corp. That is so lame. Like, if you're going to do this, just choose a cool name. Like, it really does feel like I'm back on Xbox Live when I was 11 years old, going by the name Fast Fighter, and playing with my friends that had X's in their names everywhere because they thought it was the coolest ever. How the is this an adult man who is this obsessed with just the letter X? I don't get it. If you're going to go through all of these hoops and rebrand Twitter, whatever, choose a cooler name. Like, just choose something that sounds cool or is just better overall. X is so embarrassing. Going on Twitter right now is already shameful enough, and this is just going to make it be even more miserable. Having to say that you went on X and read a couple of X's or saw the videos posted on X or whatever. It's just, it's so dumb. Yeah, I just had to talk about it. I couldn't resist. It's just so weird. It's such a weird decision. That's really about it. See ya.